Christian, what's your process? Do you edit you edit podcasts too? You know, you've been working on Jared's.
Yeah.
But that was edited by me years ago. So is anyone else you kind of record and do from scratch here? What's your process like?
So, as you said, it starts with the microphone. Starts with the pop filter. The best advice I could give, anybody who's doing it themselves, get a good microphone, get a decent microphone, get a pop filter. It is essential, especially if you're dealing with a condenser microphone. These microphones are dynamic.
Yeah, condensers are USB.
Where you could scream into these things. These things are designed to be in front of guitar amps.
I'm just kidding.
They're designed to be in front of guitar amps. They require a lot of sound pressure to really rattle them. Condensers, they will pick up, you breathing. So get a pop filter, get a good microphone. Focus on getting a good level. You don't, contrary to popular belief, people used to think, a lot of people still think, people that are new to recording, that you want to get the loudest sound possible.
Nope.
No. We live in the world of digital. You can always make it louder. But once it's distorted, the damage is done.
Yeah, if you're overmodulated, forget about it.
If it's in the red, it's not going to sound great.
Actually, let me ask you.
Yeah.
Because what I was taught, what I kind of like, that when I'm recording, you don't want your levels to be consistently in the red. You want them to be pretty much consistently at the top of green or into yellow.
I say...
And if every now and then it touches red, that's okay.
It depends on what part of the red. Is it red because it's approaching the danger zone, or is it fully into the danger zone?
It never goes full blast red. Like it just the tip of red.
Right. So to me that's like an audio engineer's nightmare. It's like, oh my God, turn it down. That's scary territory.
So you never want red.
You really want to be 50% up the meter at your loudest. You want to be yellow at your loudest, and that's a worst case scenario. I mean, that's nothing happening to yellow as long as it's not in digital. The ceiling is 0. That's 0.1 plus 0.1. That's red.
That's red.
That's distortion. 0. It's at the top, but it's not really, it's not distorting yet.
I don't know, I kind of like my audio in the yellow. Because green, I know you can make it louder, but green, it just sounds too low to me.
Well, you could just turn up your headphones.
That too.
Turn up your headphones. Once the damage is done, it can't be fully undone.
Yeah, if you
can do things to disguise it, but old adage, garbage in, garbage out. Once it's damaged, it's damaged. But having a decent microphone, having a pop filter, having mic placement. Don't record like this.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, because you can even hear it in your voice right now.
It sounds weird.
Yeah, you sound a little distant.
Yeah, and off-axis, weird things. Sound is science, guys. Weird things happen.
Yeah, standard, you want to be about a fist away from the microphone?
About a fist.
Or if you're loud, you can do like the too cool.
About a fist away.
Yeah.
That's my rule of thumb. And when you have a pop filter in front of you, that helps because the pop filter isn't all the way on the microphone.
Yeah.
But that's just setup, mic placement, decent microphone, minding your levels. From there, it's the first thing I do is DS. I want to get rid of those S's and T's.
And what is that process like? Do you have to find an area where it's or you can just go to effects racks and apply it to the whole audio clip?
So there are a lot of presets because the human voice is the human voice, and people have been doing this forever. And there's ranges. So I mentioned human hearings from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz.
Yeah, DSR is a favorite on Audition.
S's are usually in the 3 to 8K range, kind of depending on whose voice is it. Is it a woman? Is it a man? You kind of got to find the kind of, for that person's voice, you got to narrow in on where it is. It doesn't take forever. You shouldn't spend more than 5-10 minutes messing with a de-esser. You can find the frequency range, find where those S's and T's are the most pronounced. And what a de-esser does, it's another form of compression, except it's only focusing on the S's and the T's. and it's turning those down whenever they get loud. And you dial in how much you want to turn it down. Because if you turn it down too much, it's going to sound like you're talking like this. There's going to be no S's. But that's the first thing that I do is de-essing. Then I don't like to, if I'm in a pinch, I'll use a limiter. Because the thing with turning things down is that you can hear them being turned down. There's attack and release. How fast is it being turned down? How fast is it being turned up? It has to sound natural. I like to adjust the individual region. So like, let's say there's a phrase that got loud. I will turn down that phrase because it once you hear it, it happened. There wasn't any turning down, coming back up. You can hear these things if they're not done properly. So I like to just cut things up. If there's loud parts, and just turn them down a little bit. But listen, always listen. You know, it looking the same doesn't mean it sounds the same.
Right.
And from there, I'll throw a little bit of EQ on, depending on, you know, how much work it needs. I always usually roll off some low frequencies. Just don't need them. Your voice isn't living there. And then from there, I'll throw in a limiter, and I'll turn everything up. That's essentially the process if we have a decently recorded recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So without further ado, let's go to your screen recording and take a look, pretty much breaking all that down again and running through it in Pro Tools. So we'll be back in a few.
Christian here with Cube Recording Studios, also known as the man behind the board. So Will has shown his process for getting audio ready on Adobe Audition. We're a pro studio here. So we deal with a lot of different types of audio, including music, podcasts, production. So we need the utmost functionality. So we use Pro Tools. And this process is a little bit more granular. It's not templated, really a needs-based approach to processing the audio, which can get a little bit complicated at times. But there are some universal truths, some things that need to be done that you can do regardless of the DAW digital audio workstation that you're using. Keep in mind, if there were any things you needed to edit out, mic bumps, extra recording that you needed to cut, typically that would already be cut out at this point, but we're going to show you how to do that really quickly here in Pro Tools as well. So, little preface there, but let's get started. Here we have some audio from a previous episode that I'll use as an example. We have Will on the top track.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time, hopefully. This is the How to Start a Podcast.
And myself on the second. It's nice to, share the knowledge that we have to people that are just getting started or people that are intermediate and maybe just want some tips. So, for the purpose of this video, we'll just focus on the one audio track. We'll focus on Will's, so I'll mute myself, unsolo that. And the first thing I like to do is to use a de-esser. To de-ess, right? To remove excessive high end, particularly with S sounds or T sounds, you should be using a pop filter that stops P's, B's, and other plosives, as well as sibilant sounds, but the audio more often than not is going to need some additional processing, especially if you're using a condenser mic, which is very sensitive. And excessive S's is single-handedly one of the biggest signs of amateur audio, so I like to tackle this first. Let's get this out of the way. If we do want to add some real pretty high-end later, it's good to attenuate it, smooth it off before you do anything to it. So let's pull that up. We got that pulled up, the de-esser. And any de-esser will work. I like to use the Wave Sibilance plugin, but today we're using a stock plugin, Pro Tools de-esser, which every DAW will have some stock de-esser that is included with the program. So what is a de-esser? It is a compressor, but it only compresses or turns down the volume of a particular frequency range of the voice, i.e. sibilance. So our job is to target that frequency and turn it down accordingly and try to do it in a very natural sounding way. So you're going to have to use your ears for this. First, what you're going to want to do is find the frequency range with the most offending frequency with S's and T's. I'll tell you right now, it's going to be between probably 4 and 6,000 hertz. So let's dial that in. I've already taken time to find out where I think that frequency range is, but I'll take you through the process of finding it and then attenuating it. All right. So the first thing you're going to want to do is put on the side chain. It may be listen on another de-esser, or it may say side chain, something of the sort. So let's do that. So again, the idea here is to find where it's most SE, most TE sounding, and then we'll attack that frequency range. So it's not there. That's vocal. That's voice. And sometimes you want to highlight a section. So I think it's right. So that's pretty SE to me. Okay, so now that we found that, let's put it back on the regular audio monitoring mode so you hear the vocal. And let's dump the threshold all the way down. This tells the compressor, the de-esser, how far down to reach to attenuate these S's. And the idea is you don't want it to attenuate any of the voice. So you only want it to touch it when an S or a T or sound, air is occurring. That's when you want it to activate. So to do that, what we're going to do is overdo it, go to the extreme, and then dial it back. So let's dump the threshold.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time.
So that sounds really muffled, right? Let's dial it back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time. Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time.
Okay, it's not doing anything, so let's bring it down.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time. Hopefully, this is the How to Start a Podcast series. How does actually the final?
Now watch the meter here.
Hello.
It should only be activating when there's an S or a T sound.
Hello,
or the hello.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time. Hopefully, this is the How to Start a Podcast series. How does actually the final time you'll be hearing from me as well as Christian, man behind the board. And today we are talking all about distribution. We have told you how to do pre-production for your podcast. We showed you how to.
So that's about right, but let's back it off a little bit.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time.
So now it's not doing the H. So let's see how much attenuation we're getting here.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time. Hopefully, this is the How to Start a Podcast series. How does actually the final time you'll be hearing from me as well as Christian, man behind the board. And today we are talking all about distribution. We have told you how to do pre-production for your podcast. We showed you how to set up your podcast.
So this vocal is not really that sibilant, so it's only attenuating about 3 dB. Any more than that, we're going to be eating into the vocal. So I think this is in a pretty good spot, but let's bypass it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time.
Now let's get that time. So that's without anything. Let's listen to it in context.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time. Hopefully.
So it's attenuating it. It's smoothing it out a little bit. Let's go a little bit more extreme. Let's go back to 52.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time.
So it's really smoothing that T out on time. And that's what you want. All right. So now that we have that, we've heard the before and after. Now I like to attenuate excessive low end. All right. I've already gotten the EQ set up, but that's what you're going to want to pull up is an EQ. Any EQ will work. We're going to want to have one that has a low shelf or a low cut, which is also known as a high pass. So I particularly like to use, so let me show you the low cut. So this is a low cut. Now what this does, it's going to cut everything that is over here. So it is a little bit more aggressive type of EQ. So for that reason, I like to use a shelf. But let's use the low cut first.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time. Hopefully, this is the How to Start a Podcast series.
See, it's cutting off everything on this side is getting cut. So what you're going to want to do if you are going to use either of these is that you're not going to really want to touch the fundamental. The fundamental is the lowest part of the voice where it's voice. It's not low end. It's intelligible. It's the voice.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time, hopefully.
So
This
that's
is the
about
how
right
to start
here.
a podcast series. How does actually
We don't
the
really
final time
see,
you'll be
it's
hearing
really
from
just
me,
low end
as well
right
as
here. It's
Christian
not
Man behind
much
the board. And
happening. See
today,
the peak of this
we're
little
talking
mountain
all
right
about
here.
distribution. We have told you how to
So
do
I'm gonna,
pre-production for your podcast.
for this
we
low
showed you how to
cut,
set up your podcast, all the equipment,
I'm
how
gonna
to
make it
record,
a little bit
how
more
to...
steep.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time, hopefully. This is the how...
And let's hear what that sounds like. Let's bypass it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time.
All right, now let's put it back, activate it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for...
See how it sounds a little bit brighter just by cutting some of the low? You would think that you would need to boost the high, but sometimes just taking away of something that you don't want reveals and only leaves some more of the high and mid-range frequencies. So that is doing that with a low cut. Let's disable the low cut and let's activate the low shelf.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time, hopefully. This is the how to start a podcast series. How does actually the final time you'll be hearing from me, as well as Christian Man behind the board. And today,
I like using a shelf because it doesn't cut everything. You just attenuate it like a shelf. You put it down. It's shaped like a shelf. It's turning it down about -6, -7. All right. So that's how I do it. And this one, we're going to stick with the low cut. I didn't mind what it did there. Okay. Next, let's talk about dynamic processing and evenness in an audio track. The human voice is very dynamic, meaning it can be quiet and then loud in a split second, right? And in this context, we're dealing with podcasts where conversations take place, so there isn't an insane need to have the audio as consistent as a lead vocal in a song where there's tons of instruments and tons of things happening, and you need this thing that you want up front to be consistent. That's how you achieve that upfrontness. Not the case. We're dealing with voices. People are quiet, then they're loud, and then they laugh, and all of these things happen. So it doesn't need to be super consistent. However, there are moments when people get too loud, like I said, when they laugh, bump into something. Let's talk about what we do in those instances. So I like to try to get the audio as even as possible. So if I have to use a compressor, the compression is very minimal, it's transparent, and it's virtually unnoticeable. So I've taken the time to even this vocal out just a little bit, zoom out a little bit. So this is what it looked like before. See how much louder this section is? Now, I'm not saying only use your eyes and look at these peaks, this thing super high, so much taller than this section over here, but it is a guide. So let's go back to the way I had it. Now things are a little bit closer and at least visual volume, but I also have listened to it to make sure that it sounds natural. Now to do these cuts, you're going to hit Apple or Command E. That is the key command. Not sure what the key command is on your DAW, but there is a key command, or maybe you have a slicer tool, something of the sort. And we don't need this anyway, this thing in the beginning.
3, 2, 1.
So we don't need that. So we'll delete that anyway. But you make those cuts, and then in Pro Tools at least, you can actually turn up or turn down the region of the waveform, right? This is different from a fader because you're affecting the signal, the musical signal. Like basically, if this was turned up like this and it was distorting and you turn down the volume, well, you're just turning the volume down on this distorted signal. It's still going to sound bad. So sometimes what you want to do is go to the signal level and turn it down the waveform, right? Now, this is a lot more even than it was when it was like this, right? Yeah. So now that I've done that, let's say I want to get it even a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is now slap on a compressor. I'm going to turn my release down because I want the compression to be transparent. I don't want it to be turning the volume down and staying down. I want it to turn down what's loud and then let the volume come back up, right? So what you're going to want to do is find the area where you feel like, and maybe we back the release down just a little bit. You still want it to be pretty fast, but you want to find the area where the audio is pretty, it's like the average average volume of the audio, because the way the compressor works is that you have a threshold. Now you tell the compressor anything above this volume, I want you to compress. Anything else, leave it alone. Don't touch it. So if there was a part that is probably about the average volume and you like that average volume, you don't want that to be compressed. You want everything above that to be compressed. So what we're doing here is highlighting a section, and let's reset this. And we want to see it barely activating. This area right here is the gain reduction, or how much it is turning down the signal, your audio. We want it to barely activate, and then we're going to back it off so it doesn't activate. So it's not touching anything right there, but only compressing, turning down the volume of things that are louder than that area. All right? So let's unbypass.
Distribution. We have told you how to distribution. We have told you how to distribution.
All right, it's activating. Let's back it out. We shouldn't have any line pop up here. It's about right, though.
Distribution.
Okay. Let's go to, can we do 0.8?
Distribution. We have.
All right, we're not getting anything. That's good. That means that we're only going to be compressing things that are louder and visually taller than this area, right? So let's listen to the beginning, from the beginning, and see what happens with the compressor.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time, hopefully. This is the How to Start a Podcast series. The final time you'll be hearing from me.
Okay, so we're not done yet. Let's go to the loudest part.
Hello, everybody, and
all right, so let's get into it. Now that we've turned down the volume of this section, we want to turn up the rest of the audio so it's the same volume as where the loud audio used to be. The loud audio right now is being turned down, but we want to turn up the entire track so that it matches the volume of where the loud volume already was. Now, if we do that, it's like, oh, well, then you're turning up the loud volume back to where it was. No, you're not, because it's being turned down by, like we saw, -6. You're turning everything else up around it, and this is why it is called compression. The loud parts are being turned down, while the soft parts are being turned up. They are being compressed against each other. You are reducing the dynamic range, the space between the loud parts and the soft parts. So to do that, we listen to the loud part and we turn up the entire track until it seems like we didn't change the volume of the loud part. So let's put that at 0.
Hello, everybody, and
let's listen bypassed.
Hello, everybody, and hello, everybody, and
so the bypass is a little bit louder. So let's turn it up about 1 dB. See what we get there.
Hello, everybody, and
that's bypassed.
Hello, everybody, and hello, everybody, and hello, everybody, and
all right, that sounds about even.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time, hopefully. This is the How to Start a Podcast series. The final time you'll be hearing from me.
All right. So there you have it. It's a little bit more consistent. If you wanted to go a step further, you could duplicate that compressor and do the same thing. All right. I think that's fine.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time, hopefully. This is the How to Start a Podcast series.
So we're pretty even. We're pretty even. So now that we've done that, it's more consistent. The last thing you want to do is maybe do a little bit of EQ and then a limiter. So
hello, everybody, and welcome for the final. Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final. Hello, everybody, and welcome.
So you're going to sweep for frequencies that bother you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time, hopefully. This is the How to Start a Podcast series.
And I'm going to cut that. See if we get some clarity.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time, hopefully. This is the How to Start a Podcast series. The final time you.
So that doesn't sound good. Let's cut that out.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time, hopefully. This is the How to Start a Podcast.
All right, so now that we've cut that out, we think our audio sounds pretty good. The last thing you want to do is add a limiter. So this is my master channel, And that is where you're going to want to put your limiter. So this is a stock limiter here. And before we do that, let's kind of see where our levels are. So we're focused on Will.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the
So we're
final
pretty
time.
low in volume.
Hopefully, this is the How to Start
Pretty
a
low in
Podcast
volume.
series. How does actually the final time you'll be hearing from me as well.
So let's turn this up a little bit. And you could do it on the fader. But what I like to do is just take our audio and turn it up on the clip, if you can.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time. Hopefully, this is the How to Start a Podcast series. How does actually the
All right, so now let's go back to our limiter. And if you are distributing your podcast as an MP3, which more than likely you are, you're going to want to set the ceiling to negative 0.2. Anything else, like a wave, you can do negative 0.1. Turn the release all the way down. You want this to be as transparent as possible. Leave the other settings exactly as they are. And you're going to want to turn the threshold down until you're getting a pretty good volume around 0 at the loudest parts on your master channel. And this is my master channel. So let's do that.
Hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time. Hopefully, this is the How to Start a Podcast series. How does actually the final time you'll be hearing from me as well as Christian, man behind the board. And today we are talking all about distribution. We have told you how to do pre-production for your podcast. We showed you how to set up your podcast, all the equipment, how to record, how to.
So there you have it. Once you have the limiter set, that is the last piece of the puzzle. And then to export, what you're going to want to do is always export from the beginning. If you have things in the beginning. So highlight, I'm going to do from the beginning. Maybe there's intro music here or something before you start speaking. Go to File, Bounce Mix. This window pops up. MP3 if you're distributing a podcast. Mono, summed if it's just voices, just vocals, no music. If you do have music, you're going to want to put this in interleaved or stereo. 44 if it's just audio. 48 if the audio is going to be on a video. That's just the standard for videos, 48. Session folder, that's where I have it by default. Or you can click directory and click choose a location. You can leave that offline and then you can hit bounce. That's it. Thanks for watching.
All right. So those are two different schools of thought for editors. Christian's a little more intricate than mine because, like I said in the Topish podcast, he's a better editor than me. I taught myself. I pretty much learned myself through audition. You know, I just didn't have the time to get into the nitty gritty like Christian does or can do. I just like, listen, if apply it to the whole rack, and if it sounds good, it sounds good. Because a lot of podcasting, you know, it doesn't need to be crazy professional. It just needs to be listenable and out there to the public.